Hey, what's up guys? I got one today that I think applies to a lot of you. It started in '08 and ended in 2010. Is the blend door actuators have problems tracking, or the gears get fried in there as far as stripping out, and you have intermittent temperature control. One day it works, 1 hour it works, the next day it doesn't. It's more of a tracking issue on the sensor in there for the wipe arm on there inside the actual actuator here itself than gear stripping out nowadays. The old days it was a tooth or two missing in the gear. More now it's the tracking arm on there for the position. It monitors all the time. So if you have manual temp control like this, the actuators be on top behind the radio here, and I'm going to show you how to do it today. If you have dual climate control, you're going to have a right and a left, and the left hand one is down below here and under the dash, and you're supposed to pull the dash and the heater box to do it. You can do it without pulling the heater box or the dash, and this one is not faulted down below. It's the one up in the right hand today. But hopefully in the future I have a left hand, and I can show you how to do that once. A real time saver from pulling the dash out. So let's concentrate on this one and get this one back up and running. This one probably applies to more of you than the dual climate control version. So let's get started. Alright, so there's the first thing we need to do on both sides. There's one here and one on the other side. Is pop these out so we can get access to the screws. There's a little slot right here. You stick a screwdriver up in there, and you can release it then, and then it just pulls out like that. And then disconnect the wires and get these out of the way. Same thing on this side. Comes out the same way, and then we can get access to these 7mm screws right here, and pull this center finish panel off. Pull both those 7mm bolts out. Alright, once those 7mm bolts are out, just grab from the bottom here and start pulling up. Work your way around. You see it popping. Pop this side. Top ones are always tight compared to the rest of them. That one came out. Get it out and around your shifter there. Then after that, it's just a bunch of electrical connectors. Pull those off, and you get this whole fascia out of the way. After you got that fascia out of the way, that center finish panel, we can go ahead and pull the radio. There's 4 7mm bolts. Take those out. Hopefully I'm not blocking the view too much. Put those screws to the side. And it just slides out like that. And this one's a basic radio, so I only have a few connectors in the back, but they just pop off. This one right here, hopefully you can see it, is the antenna. Grab it by this black plastic piece to release it, not the metal up here with the wire. And you'll see it release pretty easy, otherwise you may struggle with it and ruin the wire. And now we get to start pulling a few ducting pieces out. And so we can actually get in there. It's right there, underneath that piece of ducting right there. See right there? So we need to get this ducting out of the way. I'll show you how to do that. Alright, so next we need to pull the passenger airbag here so we can get better access to that. We got to get a crossover here and all kinds of other duct work out of the way and make it a little easier. It's a little jammed in there. So we're going to pull this passenger airbag out. And the way we do that, first we go ahead and we pull the battery for at least 10 minutes. You want to depower the restraint module so it can't go off inadvertently. And then come over here, and there's those 10mm bolts right there, if you can focus. Sure. 2 there, 2 on the other side. Alright, once those bolts are out, we're free to go. We got to pull the 7mm here that hold the cover on. There's a couple of them going across, you'll see them. Go ahead and yank those out. Alright, once those 7mm bolts down here are out, we can go ahead and start pulling it out. This cover just basically snaps into place. And this one apparently just has a little side connector over here. You squeeze the 2 sides, little gray tabs here, and then you pull it out. Get this sucker out of the way. Now when pulling the airbag out and putting it to the side like doing repairs in the dash or whatever, always lay it facing up, whether it be a driver's airbag or the passenger one. Lay it facing up like this, so when if it pops inadvertently, it'll pop this way and it'll put the pressure towards the floor and it won't go shooting across your garage. Alright, so next what I do to get to this actuator is I don't pull this whole big long piece of ductwork that goes all the way over, curves, and goes to that vent, because that screw on the other side is such a pain to get to. It'll take longer than the rest of the job. This one is the other side of that piece of ductwork, and right here there's a 7mm. This one's a lot easier to get to. Take that out and then push that whole piece of ductwork back into the dash, and then, which this one's already half out, there's this crossover between the lower and that ductwork you're pushing on, and then of course this hole for this register vent. What you can do is push that big long piece back up into the dash, and then this one you can manhandle it out of there because it's very flexible. It's not going to crack, it's not going to ruin anything, you're not going to stretch anything, and you can get this out of here and out of your way. And after that, we have plenty of room to go ahead and get to that actuator and get it done. So I pulled the actuator out and changed it already, so you can see it very easy compared to the dusty background blending in. So here it is. It's behind the ductwork right here, through the glove box opening here, the airbag opening. And there it is, and it's 2 8mm bolts hold it in, and it's got a locator back there in that corner, see it? And there should be one up here too, right there, and that'll make sure you got it in there indexed just right. So pull those 2 screws out, and then when you put it back in, connect the electrical connector, which is right there, into the actuator, and then drop the whole assembly down into here and line up all your posts and all that stuff, and then start your screws by hand, and then use a little 8mm deep well with an extension, and you'll be able to get those tightened down. And that's the easiest part of the job. That should slide right down into there, no problem, and line up. You should have no issues at all. You should not be fighting to press it in there. It's keyed a certain way, and it should be all set perfect when it's when you put it in there. So go ahead and screw those 2 down. We can start reassembling. Alright, so this seems to be a bit of a struggle to going back in, but remember, everything's flexible here. All the ductwork you're messing around with, so it'll be okay, and it won't be the end of the world. First thing is get this round part in and through towards the opening here for this vent, and then we can start working on getting this crossover seated at the bottom housing here. And you're going to stick your arm in here and grab the other one's, the bottom housing, fold it in a little bit so you can seat this down on it like that. Same thing on the side, and now we're seated down on it already. You can see down here we're seated nice and level, and it's got the foam in there to take the gap up. Press the walls back around in here so that they have nice contact. And now we can worry about this rear vent here. And same thing, you work it around from the back here, and by sticking your arm through here and just kind of line everything up. Once it's lined up and kind of slipping over each other, then you can worry about snapping it all the way in. That one down here is good. Now this top one feels good already, so bring it in. And now it's hooked onto there. It's attached to that crossover now. And this is all the way down. This is lined up. And then you put that screw back in over here for that rear long piece of ductwork, and that'll hold it down like that. So it's perfectly centered in here, and it's past the foam, and it's perfectly seated on here also. And that's how you get that back in. That's the second hardest part of the job. It's really not that bad. Once you got that crossover back in, and the rear piece of ductwork back in, make sure you tighten that 7mm bolt right there. And besides that, it's reversal of removal. It really is. I know it looks bad, but just a lot of trim pieces, and it's really not that bad of a job. And after this, when you put that battery negative cable back on, it will self-calibrate that actuator, so that learns position right, and then we can go ahead and test it cold to hot, cold to hot. Make sure it returns, and should be all fixed.